What is up, awesome people of the internet? Number one pick in this year's WNBA draft, Aliyah Boston, came into the WNBA with a mission to let people know that she was WNBA ready. We all know she dominated in the NCAA, playing for Dawn Staley, South Carolina. But there was lots of talk of, is Aliyah Boston actually going to be good in the WNBA? How is she going to fare? All that stuff. But she came in the league letting us know that, hey, she got something to prove. And she's been proving it. We've seen her play for 4 weeks. And I think it's pretty safe to say that she is really handling the league just fine. She's not having a problem at all. She has been doing a great job just handling just about every single big that's been in the league that she's gone against, with the exception of Brittney Griner. But just about everybody else. She has been holding her own. And showing that like she can hang. Initially, in the preseason and whatnot, she kind of struggled a little bit, but it felt like she kind of figured out like what you need to do to be successful as a big in the WNBA, and she's just been doing very well. So far she's averaged 16 points a game, 7.7 rebounds a game, and she's shooting 66% from the field, which is super, super solid. She has really, really great numbers as a rookie. And I would say that her numbers would actually be way better if Indiana actually had a legit point guard. Her numbers would be way more than 16 points a game if they actually had a point guard. But really solid numbers for what for Indiana is dealing with. So for sure, Aliyah Boston is going to be the Rookie of the Year. That's kind of a no-brainer, not only because she's playing awesome, but because the other rookies this season are not really doing anything, so there is no real competition for Aliyah Boston. Honestly, I think if she just stopped now, she still would win, and doesn't improve from now on to the end of the season. I think she still wins the MVP because there's just nobody in her league right now in terms of rookies. I would say that, her most complete game was actually against the Washington Mystics. Aliyah Boston scored 23 points, 11 of 14 for shooting, 14 rebounds, and 6 assists. Like, really, really good. And I want to, say that, this was not an injured Washington Mystics team. Aliyah Boston was playing against Atlanta Deladon and Shakira Austin and still held her own, grabbing tons of boards, getting some quality shots up, and getting some good passes in. Aliyah Boston showed a preview of what the future looks like, what the future of the WNBA looks like with Aliyah Boston just balling, and still without her being the primary look for this team. Aliyah Boston is a dominant player. We all know this. I think she will have a very long and successful career in the WNBA. Assuming she stays healthy. And I would also argue that Aliyah Boston is MVP quality. She's an MVP quality player. I would even argue right now if Indiana was a better team and had an actual point guard. But of course we won't be able to see her sort of make that next level because of Indiana's roster. And so, yeah, let's just do a quick segue into some of the Indiana Fever's problems and what I think is kind of holding Aliyah Boston back. So yes, she's great. She could be even better right now if it wasn't for some of these Indiana Fever issues. And also, quick disclaimer, this is very opinionated, so if you don't want to listen to my opinion, just kind of skip towards the end. So number one problem that I see for the Indiana Fever is Erica Wheeler. Erica Wheeler should not be the starting point guard for this team. I get that, Erica Wheeler has played for Indiana before. It's kind of like a return home. She loves, Indiana. She loves the program. She just, she seems to fit culturally with the team. However, she was given a very high salary for her not to be that great as a starting point guard. That's really the biggest problem with the Indiana Fever this season, is you don't have a true point guard, and Aliyah Boston needs a true point guard. Erica Wheeler is kind of a combo guard of sorts, but you need someone who is able to run the offense and make it flow and have everything run through Aliyah Boston. There's lots of times when I'm watching games and I'm like, man, Aliyah Boston is just fighting. And no one's checking for her. No one's passing the ball down low to her. They do it sometimes, but like it just doesn't make any sense. Aliyah Boston, she has the positioning on players sometimes, and just, no one looks to pass it to her. They just kind of pass it around and jack up a terrible shot. And I think if Indiana had a great point guard, they would be able to right the ship and be like, no, we're running everything through Aliyah Boston and getting her quality passes and really solid looks to make her be extremely successful. And yes, that's a coaching thing. Like Christy Sides really should be drawing up way more plays for Aliyah Boston and sort of looking into Aliyah Boston to sort of score and whatnot. But I also think it's a point guard issue as well. I think even if Christy Sides is calling those plays, I don't think Erica Wheeler is the point guard necessary for the Indiana Fever, because they're a team that has a big as their best player. And I think that requires a different kind of guard, taking the ball up and kind of doing stuff like that, So that's kind of, my sort of issue with Erica Wheeler is just she's just not, one, she's not a point guard. Two, even if you kind of wanted to make her a point guard, she's not the right point guard for this team. Not necessarily saying that Grace Berger is, because she still needs to get a lot better. And hopefully in the offseason, Grace Berger does get better. But Erica Wheeler just isn't the point guard for this team to maximize what Aliyah Boston can do. Yes, Erica has had some solid games, but I would say those games are more of the exception than the rule for Erica Wheeler. So, yeah, the Fever, they're kind of stuck the rest of this year. But next year they seriously need to consider getting a real point guard and building around Aliyah Boston, because Aliyah Boston is great and she's only shown a portion of what she is able to do right now. And I think if you had a point guard, you'd be able to sort of unlock her talent a little bit more and really make Indiana a really, really tough out. Like right now, Indiana is very competitive, and I'm loving watching their game so far. I think they're generally in it, but they could be a lot better with a solid point guard. As I had mentioned before, it's kind of like the jury's still out on Grace Berger. She really needs to work during the offseason. Hopefully she plays for a European team in the offseason and she's getting like 30 minutes a game as a starting point guard, because I think that will really help her confidence and help her just point guard abilities. I think she has the potential to be a good point guard for Indiana if they wanted to continue with her trying to be a point guard. Not necessarily this year, but I think she could be a very solid player. I'm not saying that she should start next year at all, but I think as long as she goes overseas and gets a lot of minutes as a point guard, I think she'll be a great asset to Aliyah Boston, because I think out of all the guards for Indiana Fever, I think that Grace Berger is probably the most likely to really look for Aliyah Boston and kind of more of a passer than everybody else on the team. So I think, staying with Grace Berger works if she's coming off the bench, giving her more minutes next year. But of course she needs to do a lot of work in the offseason to get there. And for Indiana, it's not just a point guard issue. So yes, point guard is a serious thing and they really need to get that worked out. But they have Kelsey Mitchell who can shoot. She's kind of like a streaky shooter. Sometimes she's really good. Sometimes she is really off. She did hit that dagger against the Chicago Sky, which just was really a dagger to my heart. I was there at the game and I was really cheering for the Sky, but we lost, bummer. So this is a great shot for Kelsey Mitchell, but one, she's not extremely consistent. And two, there is no serious shooters outside of Kelsey Mitchell for the Indiana Fever. You got, Chrissy Wallace, you got Victoria Vivians, you got Lexi Hull, and they're supposed to be kind of like the shooters, but they're just way, way, way too inconsistent for the Fever to really have a good inside-outside game. And I think that is the future for Indiana. That is the future because once you figure this thing out and truly run everything through Aliyah Boston, there's going to be a lot of opportunities when she starts to get double teamed and she's able to kick it out to someone who can actually shoot. Lexi Hull can shoot. Victoria Vivians can shoot. Christy Wallace can shoot. But none of these players are consistent. They have games where they're terrible. And so I think it's important for Indiana to get a little bit more consistency when it comes to players shooting threes and even sort of longer twos. I think that is really, really critical because, Indiana has a franchise piece in Aliyah Boston, but if they don't get other players that can work around Aliyah Boston and work to her strengths, they're kind of going to squander their opportunity, and Aliyah Boston will eventually leave because if Indiana doesn't get it together, why would she play for a losing team? Indiana has a point guard problem. They also have a shooting problem. So once they figure it out and get it together with the point guard situation, once Aliyah Boston starts to get double teamed, who's she going to kick it out to that will actually make the shot? That's kind of the tough part. And this is not, this is kind of a rant, but this is not me, railing on Indiana and saying that they suck. That's not what I'm saying at all. I think they're just a bit inconsistent, and they really need to work in the offseason to get better because the Indiana Fever is a competitive team right now, but they could be a lot better if they fix their point guard issue and they got a little bit more consistent on the 3-point line. I think Indiana is a playoff team, and even further than that next year and sort of the years beyond, if they get those two things together, So yeah, that's my Indiana Fever rant. Hopefully, people who skipped that rant, you can now watch now because I'm done. So basically, more of the story is Aliyah Boston will be a Rookie of the Year for this season. She really is a great matchup for just watching post players play in the league. She's just a great player to watch. She can hold her own against just about everybody with the exception of Brittney Griner. And I think this offseason, I really hope that Aliyah Boston focuses on incorporating a more of a offensive repertoire when it comes to being double teamed. Of course, we all know that she can handle being double teamed. She was double teamed quite a bit in college, and she handled that quite well. I would say that, next year I could see the WNBA and having teams double team her quite a bit. I'm starting to see a little bit of double team when it comes to Aliyah Boston, but not much. But I think next year she will have a lot of double teams throughout games. And I think for her, it really is imperative for her to figure out some more post moves for her to use to get out of double teams and ways to look for the open player. But for the Indiana Fever, when she finds the open player, you need someone who can actually shoot the shot and make it. So yeah, that's kind of the video. I could totally see, Aliyah Boston next year, averaging 22 points a game, or maybe even like 26 or something like that. 10 plus rebounds and like 7 or 8 assists. I could totally see that happening, because she has the skill set. Like she's showing greatness right now. And I just love it. I'm watching a lot of her play, mainly because I just watched a lot of Indiana, the Indiana Fever this season, and I'm just really loving watching her play. And I think really the sky is the limit for what she is able to do. And I'm just really excited to see the Indiana Fever play in the future, because I think they have something. They really do. It's just a couple things they need to fix up. And they're a solid team. They're solid right now, but they could be a lot better in the future if they just fix those couple things. I like Chrissy Sides. I like her. Yes, she could do a little bit more in terms of incorporating Aliyah Boston in the offense and not just like having her get rebounds and putbacks, but like really, really looking for her throughout the game. Not in just like specific moments. It's like sometimes where they're like, oh, let's just draw a whole bunch of plays for Aliyah Boston back to back to back to back. And that's it. And then you don't look for her again. You know, like I think, there's a little bit more that Chrissy Sides can do on the strategy level. And I see her vastly improving as a coach and seeing this team improve as the days go on. And I'm really encouraged by that as like a somewhat Indiana Fever fan. Of course, my allegiance goes to the Chicago Sky, but I really love the Indiana Fever, and I want the Indiana Fever to be good. Not against the Sky, but against everybody else. And so, yeah, I think they just have the potential. And I like Chrissy Sides. I just think there's just a little bit more that they can do on the strategy side and a little more they can do on the personnel side next year to ensure that Aliyah Boston just sort of kills it. So, yeah, she's going to be the Rookie of the Year. She could potentially be the MVP next year if they kind of get their stuff together. So, yeah. That's the video, guys. Thank you so much for watching this video. Let me know what you think. Do you think that, what do you think about Aliyah Boston? What do you think about her tenure at Indiana so far? How do you think she's playing? I assume everybody thinks that she's going to be Rookie of the Year, but do you think she has MVP level quality right now? As I sort of think she does. Who do you think Indiana has to get rid of to ensure that Aliyah Boston is able to fully take advantage of her potential? Do you think Erica Wheeler can be the point guard for Aliyah Boston, or do you think that's somebody else? What do you think about Grace Berger? What do you think about Kelsey Mitchell and some of the other players, Lexi Hull? I didn't mention Nalissa Smith, but I really like Nalissa Smith, and I think Aliyah and Nalissa could be a great post pair, for years to come for Indiana. They still just need that point guard situation figured out. And I could see a lot of high-low opportunities for Nalissa and Aliyah Boston well into the future, because both of these players are very talented. And of course Aliyah Boston is the number one and should be the number one, even though I don't think Nalissa Smith is in agreement with that. But I think, and also I don't even think Kelsey Mitchell is in agreement with that. But I think, Aliyah Boston should be the number one player option for Indiana, and you just need players who are able to deal with that and be okay with that and work around that. I think Nalissa and Aliyah could be a great combo. But yeah, those are my thoughts. Let me know what you all think about Indiana. Let me know in the comments below. If you haven't already liked this video, please like it. If you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe to this channel, because we are just trying to create great women's basketball content that is rooted in, facts about what happened, but also I'm trying to give a little bit more opinion in my videos because people seem to want that, and so that's what I'm trying to do. So let me know, do you think I'm wrong? Do you think my opinions are wrong? Just let me know your thoughts in the comments below. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching this video, and until next time, guys, bye.